The Kansas City Chiefs are going to the Super Bowl. You only win a Super Bowl 2 times every 5 years, right? Oh! The warm-up act is over. Let's bring in Melissa Etheridge, massive Chiefs fan. Melissa.
Super Bowl champion, 2-time Pro Bowler, and Trent Green. Trent Green, how you doing?
Hey, what's going on, guys?
And he picked it up! He picked it up! He's gonna score! And we'll see you next week. But until then, as always, go Chiefs. All right, welcome into the Arrowhead Addict podcast, Chiefs post-game show. Patrick Allen here with you, joined by the smoothest voice in Kansas City radio, Sterling Holmes, and the blog father, Adam Best, to break down the most disgusting performance from a Kansas City Chiefs team since Tyler Palko was roaming the halls at one Arrowhead Drive. Fellas, the Chiefs lose to the 3-win now, Tennessee Titans, who are vying for the number 1 pick, 26-9. All right, Adam, you founded this thing, so we'll give you the honors. What do you make of that?
Hello, darkness, my old friend. It's like a time machine. This is where we started, my man. We started back there. This brought me back to a 2007 tilt between the Titans and Chiefs. December 16th, 2007. It was Brody Croyle against Vince Young, an ugly slog. And I found myself questioning the meaning of life there at Arrowhead watching that game. And today I did so a little once again. But in all seriousness, the ironic thing about today's game is I think Andy Reid went out there playing for pride, heavily featuring Isaiah Pacheco as if he was Christian McCaffrey or Jahmyr Gibbs, funneling targets to Juju Smith-Schuster, refusing to play Jeffrey Bossa or Brashard Smith or Jalen Royals. And I think actually if he played the younger guys, it would have been a worse tanking strategy because they just really laid down. They had nothing for the Titans. This is arguably the worst team in the league. Sure, you have a lot of young guys playing for pride. You have a head coach that's playing for his future in the league. But the Chiefs have no business getting boat raced by arguably the worst team in the league that had lost 11 straight games there in Nashville. It just, man, how do we get this low?
It's rough times.
That sucked worse than anything has ever sucked before, in the words of the illustrious Butthead. I don't know what to take away anything positive from. I mean, yes, the Chiefs losing is a good thing in the grand scheme of things because tanking and better draft position, so sure. But the reason why it sucks is they weren't trying to tank. They played their veterans. And the young guys that did play didn't look good. It wasn't like, oh, great, Ashton Gelati showed us something. They didn't play Jalen Royals. They were playing Cochran, who was getting washed away on every single play instead of playing Jeffrey Bossa. You saw the young offensive linemen who we were excited about seeing get dominated by the Titans. They didn't know how to line up and snap correctly. Now, I know second-string quarterback and then third-string quarterback and the cadences, all that stuff. There is some nuance, but they were bad. No Brashard Smith, because why wouldn't you want to see Isaiah Pacheco, who you've basically already alluded to being gone next year? That's great. We see why Christian Fulton didn't play at all. I mean, dude, brutal. And I was a huge Christian Fulton guy. That was maybe the most disappointing game I have watched, because at least with like Tyler Thigpen, at least you're sitting here going, hey, at least we can try and see Tyler Thigpen. At least, hey, we're not good, but let's see what they have for the years going on. I mean, they were playing the veterans. They played the veterans and got dominated by at the time, 2-12 Titans team. I come away from this game feeling worse than I did going into it. And this is, again, with the Chiefs getting better draft position. Because now I think, okay, how much did Patrick really cover up? Like, I know there are some pieces. I get that. But, dude, That was one of the worst games I have ever witnessed. And yes, I did watch all of the Todd Haley, Crennel, all of those years. This was a debacle.
Look, I think you can look at this a few different ways. And certainly in a game like this where they were just so bad and there were a number of veterans playing, you would like to see more Kansas City Chiefs. Pride, you'd like to see Chris Jones out there and making an impact. He was still on a money. There are guys out there that I would have liked to have seen play better. On the other hand, and maybe I'm going to be, and if people call me out for this, fine. Maybe I'm going to be silver lining guy here on this because I had the whole game to think about how I felt about it, and obviously it's just frustrating to see them stink. But Gardner tore his ACL. Okay, so this game went off the rails from the beginning. Looking great when Minshew was out there, but he tore his ACL really early in the game and then went out there a couple drives and couldn't throw the football. So I do think if we're going to extend any grade, it's the fact that this is not the Kansas City Chiefs that you were watching today. Tennessee Titans team maybe only have 2 wins. They may be a bad football team, but they've been bad all year. These guys, they're playing, the whole offensive line is injured. You've got your 5th and 6th string tackles out there. Chris Oladukin, he's a practice squad player. He shouldn't even be in the NFL.
Malik Willis looks phenomenal with the Packers. You see Davis Mills go 3-0 with the Texans. I'm done with the backup stuff because we see backups in other situations thrive. Okay,
so I'm not going to
hear it.
Sterling. Those guys are. If you saw Minshew play like that the whole game, then fine, you would have a point. But calling Chris Oladukin a backup when he's been on the practice squad, he's not getting snaps. He didn't get any snaps this week. He shouldn't even. The gulf between those guys who got drafted high and Chris Oladukin is the Grand Canyon. The gulf between Cam Ward and Chris Oladukin is the Grand Canyon.
Did I say Cam Ward? I say Davis Mills.
Right. I'm saying, but these
but
guys.
Davis Mills was picked pretty high, I think is what he's saying. I get both sides of the argument, though.
Yeah, those guys have played well. Like to expect. Listen, this guy doesn't belong in an NFL game, Chris Oladukin, and he actually had some moments in this one, and his mobility and stuff. But when I zoom back and look at this team, like you don't have any. You've lost a ton of guys. You have no Trent McDuffie, no Leo Chenal out there. You don't have your tackles. You don't even have your backup tackles. You don't have your backup quarterback. You have the emergency quarterback. They were one snap away from Noah Gray being their quarterback. So like. Was it bad? Yes. Did they demonstrate a lack of heart? Yes. But I think we're overestimating how well they should have played given the circumstances against a team like the Tennessee Titans. The NFL, the bad teams in the NFL, the really bad ones like the Tennessee Titans and the really good ones, they're not that far away from each other. And so when you take away the players that the Chiefs have lost, like we really shouldn't be too surprised that this game turned out this way considering what happened.
Then why not play the young guys?
Yeah.
And that's a fair point. I don't have an argument against that. But, should they have played better given they lost Minshew right at the beginning of the game and they put in a guy who really doesn't belong in the NFL? Probably not.
Yeah,
the
30 points on defense.
Yeah,
okay.
The defense should have played better. Yeah.
I think that's what's discouraging to me is just a refusal to be self-aware about where you are at as a football team. Brett Veach needs information about Jeffrey Bossa and Brashard Smith and Jalen Royals before he goes into free agency in the draft. But also there was a moment, I believe it was in the second quarter. It might've been in the first quarter, but it was when Kingsley Suamataia I don't know if he had a mind fart or what happened, but he allowed Jeffrey Simmons to just wreck Kareem Hunt on a safety. And you saw Trey Smith and Creed Humphrey absolutely lose their shit on the sideline saying, wake the fuck up, wake the fuck up. And I was like, well, where was this coming out of the bye week? This is 6 weeks too late for this sense of urgency and for this kind of leadership. I didn't see anything like that to that level this entire season. And I don't know why it finally came today without Patrick Mahomes there, someone else kind of like stepping up and showing that level of disdain for where the Chiefs are at. But too little too late.
Yeah, I just don't understand this. This was, again, you see Butker, the highest paid kicker in football, miss a 51-yarder. I get it. He made 3 others. I get it. It's 51 yards. But also, you are the highest paid kicker. You're expected to be the best kicker in the NFL. That comes with the territory. I'm just so beyond frustrated at this game for, again, you have 3 games to try and figure out who's going to be here next year and who's not. You have 3 games to figure out, is Jalen Royals a guy you can count on? But no, you have to see Juju in Hollywood. You have 3 games to figure out, is Jaden Hicks able to fill in for, let's say, Brian Cook next year, and you play Mike Edwards. You have 3 games to figure out, hey, is Jeffrey Bossa a coverage linebacker, or do we need to bring back Drew Tranquil, and he doesn't get a snap? Okay, like, this is my frustration. You have 3 games to figure out, can Brashard Smith be your third down back? Can he be a guy you can count on for even 5 carries a game? And you give him no chance. You play Isaiah Pacheco instead. Like, you have time. You have game time, game simulation, not practice, not preseason, to figure out if these guys are part of your game plan and part of your future, and you throw it out the window. I actually don't mind them playing Christian Fulton because he has a 2-year contract, so you can cut him and save some money, but still a lot of dead cap hit against the Chiefs if you cut him this offseason, right? So I understand playing Christian Fulton to an extent. That one I get. But like all these other ones, I don't understand. Jack Cochran, when has he ever showed you that he is going to be a linebacker outside of special teams, right? What has he showed you? And by the way, special teams, yet again, an utter disaster. Remigio deciding at the last half second, which I feel bad for, he got hit right in the stones. It was I guess it was the Chiefs' fault because he got blocked into him. It wasn't even a penalty on him. It was a penalty on the Chiefs. I mean, just an utter disgrace throughout the entire game in all 3 phases. I come away from this game saying we learned nothing.
Yeah, it was ugly, man. I mean, it was ugly. I really do, though, feel like they're just so, at this point, and I think what Andy was doing, and I'm not saying I agree with it, but I think what he was doing was, he's just a guy, he's not going to tank. He's not going to do that, right? And I've been talking about this coaching staff and their hubris being a problem all season long. And I think you're seeing a little bit of that in a game like this where Andy wants to win, so he's going to play his veterans. And I think in his mind, and this is me projecting, but in his mind, he knows what he has in Brashard Smith. He knows what he has in Jeffrey Bossa. He knows those guys are, listen, I'm just telling you, this is what I think, the way he thinks, right?
How would you know what he has if he's never played in a regular season game?
Because these are NFL guys. They evaluate talent. That's what they do. So they believe in their ability to evaluate talent, right? They don't think they're going to, I don't think they think they're going to learn anything by playing them. I disagree with that, but I think that that's part of the problem here, right? Is that I've Andy Reid. I've done this for a long time. I'm really, really good. And because of that, it makes some of my oversights catastrophic in terms of failure. So he looks at a game like this. He says, I'm going to play my starters because we're going to play the guys that are giving us the best chance to win. Brashard Smith, Jeffrey Bossa, I don't think they give us the best chance to win, so I'm not going to play them. And seeing them play in a game when they're in over their heads against the Titans isn't going to change my opinion of them. I disagree with that. I think they would, that you brought these guys in. I think that they would benefit from the reps. And since you are playing for nothing in terms of, you can't win anything here except a better draft pick, and that's if you lose, why not get those guys in there and give them the reps to maybe not evaluate them if that's the way you see it, but at least give them the live NFL action against a team that's trying to win. Same thing next week against the Denver Broncos. That team's trying to get the 1 seed. So playing those guys, that's an incredible experience for them. But I think that the coaching staff suffers from hubris. And I think that they need to continue to get humbled and have a heart-to-heart and a look in the mirror in this offseason and say, we got to start doing things a little bit differently. Just because we've had so much success doesn't mean every idea we have is going to work.
It's like that old Allen Iverson quote, though. We're talking about practice, right? Like, anybody who's ever been around sports at a decent level knows that there are some guys that aren't practice players that just step up in live action when the lights are the brightest in games And you just never know how these guys are going to react. Some guys under pressure turtle up. Some guys become the best version of themselves. We haven't even given Jeffrey Bossa, Jalen Royals, and Brashard Smith a chance. And like, why even pick Jeffrey Bossa and Jalen Royals if you're not going to play them? Why not pick Devin Neal, a running back who would have actually contributed, instead of these two guys that they're redshirting? It's nonsensical. And like, I don't know. I feel like at this point, we're almost to the point of an intervention with Andy and Spags from Brett Veach, where I think Brett Veach, man, has to sit these guys down and say, we have to rethink some things, right? We obviously don't know as much as we thought we knew.
Yeah, it's just Christmas is going to be a real treat. For all the Chiefs fans that went to the game, at least Nashville's a fun city. Go out, listen to some live music, hang out, grab a cold one, try and enjoy your trip as best as you can, because I'm sure a lot of folks bought these tickets a long time ago, and they thought, oh, yeah, Chiefs are going to be rolling. Patrick's still playing, might be playing for the 1 seed at this point. It's going to be lovely. Great time.
Listen, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to keep breaking this down. It's frustrating. Don't worry, you'll get your therapy here. But listen, the best way, I think, Christmas is right around the corner, and if the best way to spread some holiday cheer is to gift the Aura frame to keep family near. You guys know I'm in Chicago. My son's grandparents are in Northeast Ohio. They don't get to see him very often. I bought him an Aura frame, and this thing's incredible. You have unlimited free photos and videos. You just download the Aura app, connect it to Wi-Fi, and you could preload photos before it ships. And then you could keep adding them from anywhere, anytime. So if my son does something cute, I take a picture of him, I send it to my parents. It shows up right in their living room. It's like we're right there with them. You could personalize your gift, share the photos effortlessly, just right from your phone, straight to their frame. You get a gift box included. Every frame comes packaged in that premium gift box with no price tag. You know, you can't wrap togetherness, but you can frame it. And for a limited time, save on the perfect gift by visiting auraframes.com to get $35 off Aura's best-selling Carver matte frames. That's the one I've got, named #1 by Wirecutter, by using our promo code Arrowhead at checkout. That's AURA frames, promo code Arrowhead. The deal is exclusive to our listeners, and frames sell out fast, so order yours now to get it in time for the holidays. Support the show by mentioning us at checkout. Terms and conditions apply. I want to go back to this point we were making, guys, about, you know, hubris and like Andy trying to win the game versus evaluating the young talent. Sterling, is that what you think was going on? Do you think it was because, like, why else wouldn't he want to evaluate the younger guys? Do you think that this was just Andy being like, I want to win this game. We're gonna play it till the end, and we're gonna play our veteran guys, and we're not gonna put guys out there that he thinks are going to maybe make it harder for him to win?
Here's the thing. No, they're not going to tank. And I actually understood to start the game when you have Gardner Minshew playing Isaiah Pacheco, playing Juju and Hollywood over Jalen Royals. I understood the thought process to start the game. The reason was you want to see what you have in Gardner Minshew to see if he can be your backup for next year. Do you trust him if Patrick is forced to miss some games to start this season? Again, we don't know the exact time frame because everyone's body heals differently. Could he be back week 1? Sure. Could he be back week 5? Sure. So you want to have a backup that you trust just in case. So for the first half with Gardner Minshew, I'd have been like, yeah, makes sense. Make sure you play the veterans to see what he looks like. But then he looked bad, and he was injured pretty much right away. He went out to start the second quarter. At that point, with Chris Oladokun in the game, you're probably losing. Right? You're right. He's not Davis Mills. Oladokun's not. I think Gardner Minshew would be in that same category, but he's not Davis Mills, or he's not, Malik Willis or some of those guys. Fair. Fine. But then don't you want to see what Jalen Royals could provide? Don't you want to see even more of Xavier Worthy instead of Juju? Like, I don't know. That's what I don't understand, because I do understand, Patrick, the thought process of playing the veterans the first half, or at least if Gardner Minshew was in the game. I do understand that. But once he went out of the game, at that point, it should be a youth movement. That's what the Titans are doing. And look, they put up 30 points. The last 3 games, they put up 20-plus points. The Titans have improved. I just don't understand. I don't think it's hubris. I honestly don't know. Because if I knew, I'd tell you what it is. Because to me, I can't find a single reason why in the fourth quarter, Jack Conklin's playing over Jeffrey Bassa, why you're seeing Hollywood and Juju over Jalen Royals, and why you're still seeing Pacheco tote the rock and even catch passes out of the backfield instead of Rashard Smith.
Well, the thing we haven't mentioned here is the complexities of their system offensively and defensively to a lesser degree. And Andy wants the guys out there who know his offense the best. And I mean, he really got exposed on that today because the system is Mahomes. Without Mahomes, this is the New York Jets. This is the Cleveland Browns. That's where we're at with this football team, the talent they have. And yeah, they were missing some other pieces, but yeah, it looks really, really bleak. And I think the veteran deference from the coaching staff has been a problem for years. I understand that you wanted to give guys like Kareem Hunt and Juju Smith-Schuster and Hollywood Brown and Charles Omenihu the chance to fight, but that was last week. Once they became mathematically eliminated, hey, they lost those privileges. They're lame duck players. They are not going to be part of your future. They have no business being on the field. Thank you for your service. Goodbye. Let's play Ashton Gelati a shit ton of snaps. Let's get him ready for 2026. These guys aren't ready for 2026. The only way they're going to get mentally ready is real NFL reps during game experience, not preseason, not practice. It's just inexplicable. I mean, they're throwing like 10 passes to Isaiah Pacheco. I get that you don't want to run Rashard Smith up the middle, but if it's going to be a check down city, why not 24 instead of 10?
Yeah, and that's, look, I mean, you got Aladukin out there, and he's just going to dump it down, right? So those are opportunities for Smith. You know what Isaiah, like we talk about, I suggested that Andy thinks he knows guys are right now, and then he'll training camp. You know what it is, Andy. Like, you know what you have in Kareem Hunt more than the young guys, no matter how good your talent valuation is. And the fact that they were so bad without Mahomes and a number of other players, this wasn't always the case with the Chiefs. We saw Chad Henne, we saw Matt Moore come in and be serviceable and be able to win games with the supporting cast around them. And I think what you're seeing now is when you take away a Tyreek Hill, you take away a prime Travis Kelce, and then you add an offensive line injuries, you really did have Patrick Mahomes propping up this team. No Rashee Rice, right? Like no Trent McDuffie, no consistent edge rusher. Like Patrick Mahomes is really propping up this team. And I don't think they're as bad as they looked out there today without a number of starters and with a practice squad quarterback. But what's their record without Patrick Mahomes though? And it's probably not a whole lot better than it is right now. And I think they're missing. I think now you're seeing the drafting at the back of all of these rounds year after year after year after year. When you have like Hall of Fame players and really good guys, they make the guys next to them that are average or slightly above average look better, right? When you've got prime Chris Jones, Nick Bolton looks like a potential all-pro behind him some games. But when you don't have prime Chris Jones, when you don't have prime Travis Kelce making, Demarcus Robinson look like a really good number two receiver, when you don't have those guys out there, it becomes a house of cards. And as frustrating as this game was, and it's good because, and I was talking to your brother, Adam, Zach Best, co-founder of Arrowhead Addict, earlier today on the phone. And he made a really great point. We're all focusing on, hey, the Chiefs lose these games, they're going to get like the best draft pick they've had in a really long time. And the point he made to me, which I thought was really enlightening, was everyone's focusing on the first round, but it's not just about the first round. It's about all those other rounds after that, picking higher. That makes a huge difference. Picking at the beginning or near the beginning of the second round instead of basically having a third round pick, that's huge for this Chiefs team. So, boy, this is going to be a frustrating end of the season, but it's going to be a fun off season because Brett Veach and Andy Reid have a huge, like, they can't just go and they got the cap issues. Like, they need to remake this team, remake this offense. There's a lot of potential excitement for Chiefs fans in the off season that we haven't had. Most of our off seasons are pretty ho hum. I'm intrigued to see how it all plays out. And this is a chance like for legacy cementing. There's a lot of criticism being heaved at Brett Veach right now. Some of it is fair. Some of it I don't think is fair. Some of it is, I think, is Chiefs fans being a prisoner of the moment. But Sterling, what are your thoughts here? I mean, how impactful is having these high picks going to be for the Chiefs? And can Brett Veach and the scouting department actually get the kind of draft that the Chiefs need to refresh this thing?
Yeah, that's the intriguing part. Is you're right. It's not just the first round. It's second round, third, fourth, and on. It's every pick. You have a nice little advantage and even more ammunition and more excitement of the potential trade up or trade back. There are some intriguing things here because it's not just one piece, right? It's not just they need a running back, or it's not just they need a wide receiver. They don't just need an edge rusher, right? But having a draft like this and the draft pick that they have, you could go edge rusher in the first round and get a game-changing running back early in the second, right? Like, there are options. There are free agents as well with Breece Hall and ETN and other running backs that you can try and go after and acquire. You're going to have, and we've talked about it on radio a lot, and so I don't want to get into the all nuances here, but like, people see the initial cap that the Chiefs are in and think, oh my gosh, it's a disaster. They're going to restructure Patrick. They're going to restructure Chris Jones. Obviously Juwan Taylor's off the books. They could save $7 million by moving on from Drew Tranquill, which again is why I thought that you would want to see what Bossa can do to see if you can trust him in that Drew Tranquill role. I mean, there's a lot of cap space that's going to be opened up. Mike Dana's going to get you, I think, like $6 or $7 million off the cap space as well. Like, there's a lot of cap space that's going to be taken off or maneuvered that people just don't see because they're not on the books right now. Okay, so just throwing that out there. And then you're right. Veach has to get it right. And I think for the most part, I know we always push back and say, well, they could have had Jonathan Taylor, or look at George Pickens, or look at this guy. Why did they draft FAU? I don't argue those, but at the same time, he's done a good job overall. Like, what is the overall outlook of guys that he has drafted? Is it the best in the NFL? Probably not, but it's definitely in the top half, top 10 probably, right? Because no one's going to be shooting 100%. Because the Eagles are winning and they paid and brought in A.J. Brown, people forget the fact that they drafted Jalen Reagor instead of Justin Jefferson. Like, everyone makes mistakes. They had their top 10 pick. They got lucky because Jalen Carter had off-the-field issues, and they got it right. So now Brett Veach has to get it right. The last time the Chiefs were in a situation where a total rebuild is wrong, a big retooling had to happen was the 2021-2022 offseason without Tyreek Hill when that was a trade. And what happened? Brett Veach got it right. He got it right. So, yes, for all of his hand-wringing and nervousness, which is fair, he's 1 for 1 in the big time. I think we can all agree there. So now can he go 2 for 2?
Sterling, actually, your point goes even further because he also drafted J.J. Arcega-Whiteside in the second round, and they didn't want A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown was not option A for them. Option A was a washed Allen Robinson. Sometimes this stuff comes down to luck. But the point I'm going to make about Brett Veach is when Brett Veach became the general manager, he was extremely young, one of the youngest general managers in football. Andy Reid is one of the most established coaches and cultural voices in any NFL franchise. And I just don't think he had that much say or sway early on in his career. Also, Tyreek Hill already here. Yeah, he was instrumental in getting Mahomes, but Mahomes is already here. Kelsey already here. Jones already here. I just don't think he's really been able to put his imprint on this team. But now he's older. He's more experienced. We're in a situation where the Chiefs are clearly bad enough for him to remake this roster in his image. And I think Andy and Spags have a little less juice with the owner at this point. And also, Brett Veach has to know, this is the final point here. Sterling, I see you chomping at the bit. I think Brett Veach knows at this point that Andy Reid and Steve Spagnuolo aren't going to be here for that long. And if he wants to be here for another 10 or 15 years in Kansas City, that's on his shoulders and his shoulders alone.
Real quick, I see this from Chad. He got it right or had elite Mahomes. Yeah, no, I get it. Patrick's going to over and make us overlook some things. I don't argue that. But did he get it right with Creed? Did he get it right with Trey? Did he get it right so far, it looks like, with Josh Simmons? Did he get it right with Trent McDuffie in that trade-up? Did he get it right with George Karlaftis? Contract-wise, second one, we'll find out. But that's the going rate of a DN2 in today's NFL. Did he get it right with Nick Bolton, at least the draft pick, not even the secondary contract? Did he get it right with Brian Cook and L'Jarius Sneed? Like, yes, he's got it right with a lot more people, and I think people want to give him credit for, because we forget. No, I don't say we forget. We focus on the Clyde, FAU, draft picks. Like, those are the main two we focus on. But when you look around the NFL and you look at the drafts of a lot of other teams, look at the 7 rounds, and at times you're saying they maybe got 2 guys right. They maybe have 2 starters out of that draft, right? I'm not trying to carry water for Brett Veach, but I'm trying to show some nuance here. You're not going 7 for 7. That's just not the nature of the NFL. That's not how it works. It is nearly impossible. I do think Brett Veach is hitting at about a, 60% clip. Let's just say hypothetically. That's good. It's like betting. If you hit at a 60% clip, that's the right one. Yeah, Sky Moore. But George Pickens wasn't on their board because of off the field, not even off the field, just maybe mindset issues. Every GM makes bad picks. Every GM gives out bad contracts. But at the same time, I think you have to look at the totality of what Veach has done in Kansas City, and I think we're all are going to sit back and say, yeah, you're going to take that. You're going to take that. So what, you want to fire him and then go with the unknown of a guy? Is that what you want? I think Veach is good. Is he a top 5 GM? I think the consensus would be yes. Is he the best? Maybe not. But do you want to fire a top 5 GM in hopes of a number 1? I'll take the guy that has helped construct a multiple Super Bowl winning team. I just think we need some nuance here.
Yeah, he's spinning so many plates. It's a very difficult task to do what he's doing. I know everybody likes to point to Howie, and he's not paying Patrick Mahomes. Like, to go to 5 Super Bowls in 6 years, I just don't think people understand how incredibly spoiled we are in Kansas City and how difficult it is to try to keep pieces coming in when you have Hall of Fame players that you have to pay and you're trying to make the right decision and keep Chris Jones and move on. You think this Chiefs defense would have been any better if they moved on from Chris Jones? Hell no, they wouldn't be. Hell no, they wouldn't be. And maybe you're mad about the contract, but they almost got another Super Bowl last year. But the lack of rope that Chiefs fans Reed and Brett Veach after what they have done for this city, and they just want to give all the Patrick Mahomes is incredible. I don't care. He's one of the best quarterbacks I've ever seen. Top 2. If he doesn't have Andy Reid and Brett Veach, he does not have the level of success that he has. He just doesn't. If Herm Edwards was his coach or Carl Peterson was his GM, he does not have the level of success that he has. To have the level of sustained success, the incredible success that this Chiefs team has had, it takes everybody. It takes your organizational philosophy, your head coach, your GM. That doesn't mean things can't go off the rails and you just run out of steam. Some players get old. You end up so bad. Like, that can all happen. But if they can reload, they can reload. And I think they're going to. We're going to be right back. I've got to let you know really quickly, though, the holidays is all about finding the perfect gift for your loved ones. But scammers also know that the holidays are a busy time for everyone, which can make us all targets for scams. That's why Cash App builds in protection to help keep your money safe while you're checking off your shopping list. If you're about to send money to someone for a deal that's too good to be true, Cash App flags it as a potential scam to warn you before you send the money. Cash App also gives you an extra layer of protection with features like security lock. You could require a PIN, Face ID, or fingerprint to unlock your account and move money. So even if someone gets a hold of your unlocked phone at a holiday party, your money is right where you left it. Gift yourself some peace of mind this holiday season and download Cash App. For a limited time only, new Cash App customers can use our exclusive code to earn some additional cash. For real. Just download Cash App with our exclusive referral code SECURE10 in your profile. Send $5 to a friend within 14 days, and you'll get $10 dropped right into your account. Terms apply. That's money. That's Cash App. Cash App is a financial service platform, not a bank. Banking service provided by Cash App. Bank partners, prepaid debit cards issued by Sutton Bank, member FDIC, promotions provided by Cash App, a Block Inc. brand. Visit Cash App /legal/podcast for full disclosures.
So a couple comments I want to get to real quick.
Yeah.
Scotty, appreciate you. I love everyone who's in the chat. I appreciate everyone hanging out and commenting and being part of this little post-game conversation with us. But one, talking in all caps doesn't make you right. And two, when you say Chiefs haven't had a bell cow running back since Jamal Charles, that's on Brett Veach. Well, I mean, they also didn't have Patrick Mahomes back then. The offense was built around Jamal Charles. The offense currently is not built around a running back. It's the salary cap. When you have all this money tied up in a quarterback on a non-rookie deal, you have to find ways to save money elsewhere. This is what Tom Brady and the Patriots did forever. They focused on offensive line and defense because you know why? The quarterback can elevate his wide receivers. I mean, you look at the litany of guys that Tom Brady threw to, it's not a list of who's who. Yeah, he had Randy Moss for, a year? Like, I'm not saying he always had bums he was throwing the ball to, but it wasn't just Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. That's not what it was. That's why when you look at the Bengals and the disaster they've been in for a while, because their defense is so bad, and everyone goes, well, what's Joe Burrow supposed to do? Well, it's not all on him. But then don't pay two wide receivers, wide receiver one money, and don't pay anyone on the defense. This is what you're going to get. So what the Chiefs have done is the smart move. They've tried to invest in the O-line. They've invested in the defense and said Patrick will make other guys better. The issue is the running back room has gotten so bad with so little investment. This is where it currently is. Like, they didn't go in saying it was going to be this bad. We probably should have seen it coming. If you look back at some of the conversations we had, we somewhat did see it coming, and I do think they'll address it this offseason. But the same point remains, it's a salary cap era. You can't have all pros at every single position. There is going to be a schematic overhaul, in my opinion, this offseason. We'll find it. We'll see it. So when someone says, well, then who's to blame? Everyone's to blame. So I think blaming Veach or blaming Andy or blaming Nagy or blaming Spags is a little unfair. I think everyone is to be a part of this. But when you go to 3 straight Super Bowls, I understand the pushback of, okay, well, why do we need to have a complete overhaul now? Because if you have a complete overhaul and you fail, what happens? Then you question, should we have changed? Well, now that you have the disaster of a season that has just transpired, you are forced to change. That is why I think we might take a look back and have it as pre-ACL and post-ACL. And this will be the deciding season because prior to this, we had pre-Tyreek and post-Tyreek. And quite frankly, post-Tyreek had more Lombardis. So this is going to be the new cutoff mark, I think, in the Patrick's Chiefs dynasty.
Yeah, and I think you nailed it. There's a lot of hypocrisy among Chiefs fans, among all fans. That's how fans are, right? But 8 months ago, when Matt Connor was on this podcast, our editor-in-chief at Arrowhead Addict, talking about how the Chiefs needed a running back and they should draft a running back, everybody in the comments was like, remember CEH? We drafted CEH. Don't draft a running back high. Don't spend picks on a running back. The Chiefs won all these Super Bowls. They don't need a running back. That's what everybody was saying. Everybody was saying that. Everybody was saying Brett Veach stunk for drafting CEH and that they don't need a running back to win Super Bowls. Now that
I don't know that everybody was saying that, man.
Yes, I was on
draft night.
I'm on a lot of these shows, Adam.
On day three of the draft, people were going ballistic about the Chiefs not drafting a running back. And you know how Chiefs fans are. They're not used to having good quarterbacks still, but we've always had good running backs. So I think it was split. I do think there was half of people saying, why fix it if it isn't broken? But I think there were some people clamoring for a running back. I don't know.
On day 3, but you're not guaranteed to get the CEH miss was a pretty historic miss. Generally, when you take a running back that high, they're good, right? And so I think people wanted them to take some 4th, 5th, 6th round guys, but having weapons is important for an offense. And a running game is important for an offense. It's important for Patrick Mahomes. And I just think that there's just a lot of hypocrisy with people now pointing about, they needed a running back. And that they acting as if they should have torn this thing down after the loss to the Eagles in the Super Bowl when they went 15-2. And it was clear they couldn't block anybody. And then They spent their energy where they should have for the most part, which is on the offensive line. Should they have gotten a running back? I've been waving that flag for a while. Absolutely. But it's not just the lack of a running back that it is responsible for the season they had. We've talked about it on the show. It's a confluence of things. It's Rashee Rice being a knucklehead, missing a big part of the season. It's really untimely injuries. It's a little bit of a stale offensive playbook. But I don't think there's any one thing that you could point to and be like, this is the catastrophic thing that is the reason why this Chiefs season went to pot. I think it's bad luck. It's all of those things. And that's why I'm not as down as everybody else is. I do think they need to make major changes and refresh things from a scheme perspective. They need to get cheaper and younger and all of those things. But I don't think that this team, as bad as they were this year when Mahomes was on the field, is as far away from being good as everybody thinks they are.
Agreed. I think that's also something to point and take away, which is not trying to make excuses, but it's also understanding that last year variance in almost every situation went their way. Variance in almost every situation went against them this season. They were probably more like a 8-6-ish team, right? And they were 6-8, right? That's probably more or less where they were if the games went about 50-50 or more in line with traditional being. They weren't a good team. They weren't a great team, but they were probably a back-end playoff team if variance was normal. It just went against them after going their way last year. And I do think there's a couple of things that make sense, as Jeremy pointed out. I love this from Jeremy. I've talked about this as well, that multiple free agent running backs that put up better numbers than anyone on our roster were available for NFL minimum wage. The Chiefs signed Elijah Mitchell. Look at Rico Dowdle. They just didn't get it right. They tried playing in those waters, and it is risky waters. So I also point out, would you have rather had a first-round running back last year or Josh Simmons? I think most people will say in the long run, Josh Simmons was the right move. A running back or Omar Norman Lott. I think a pass rushing defensive tackle, now the injury plays a part, we'll find out, but I do think that made more sense. Noah Williams, who looks like a lockdown corner or a running back. Well, lockdown corners are harder to find. So, I do think the Chiefs made the right decision in the moment, but injuries play a factor that has really derailed our thought process on this particular rookie class. And when you a little pushback on the first round running back thing, Patrick, I don't argue that. There have been a lot of really good running backs, but a lot of them are no longer, one, on the first team, and two, don't last a super long time, or three, just aren't good. Sony Michel had 1 year. Todd Gurley had a great few-year stretch and then fell off. Obviously, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, don't need to go back into that story. Trent Richardson was obviously one that was very, very highly drafted. Josh Jacobs, yeah, he's been really good, but that's been now in Green Bay. I don't know. First round running backs to me, unless you're getting Jahmyr Gibbs, which is always very hard to find, I like that third-ish round sweet spot, which we knew going into this draft. That made sense, which is why I'm frustrated with, okay, if you don't think Royals or Boss is the guy, then why did you draft those two guys over a running back that could have helped your team this year and for the future?
McCaffrey also and Barkley also making Super Bowl runs for their second team, not even paying back the original team that drafted them. The other thing I want to hit on here, for the reason the Chiefs kind of flipped last season to this season, is I think the world saw Superman bleed last Super Bowl. And not only did the Chiefs lose some of their mystique and some of their aura externally, some of their confidence, I think, was shaken. Their situational football, that's experience, but a lot of that is, we're better than you. We believe we're better than you. You believe we're better than you. And we know how to win these games better than anybody. They lost that. They have to do some soul searching. You can call it a Super Bowl hangover. You can call it whatever you want. They have to do some soul searching and rediscover that championship DNA that allowed them to win these close games. I do think luck played a part, but we can't just chop it up to variance. I've been thinking a lot about this, and I think, last year they just knew how to figure out these late games, and they just believed they were going to win. And we saw kind of like what we got used to as kids with this Chiefs team, where it was more like, oh no, here we go again. And that has been gone for a long time from this city and seemed to like creep back into consciousness this year.
And I agree with what one of you was saying. I can't remember who it was who said that we may look back at this and say pre-ACL, post-ACL, it was Sterling. I think that so many of these guys on the team, they're either like veterans like Chris Jones and Travis Kelce who have been there for a long time and who have won a ton. And then you have a bunch of, like, we talk about the Chiefs fan base, like us being a little bit spoiled. You know who else is spoiled? Some of the young players on the Chiefs. Like, they walked in. I mean, you talk about being born on third base, and you're just going to Super Bowls every year. Like, Nick Bolton's probably just like, yeah, this is how it is, you know? And so I think a season like this is character building for everyone, even for Andy Reid, who's seen it all, right? He's had winning seasons and losing seasons as well. I think everybody, this kind of refresh that they're going to have to learn how to execute again. They're going to have to learn how to win again, how to win those tight games. They're going to bring in fresh people who aren't coming into, we're going to go to the Super Bowl because I'm on the Chiefs. They're going to come into a team that didn't make the playoffs, that's going to be drafted in the top 15. And so you're going to have more hungry people that are hungry to prove themselves. And you're going to find that there aren't very many sacred cows on this roster this offseason because the Chiefs need to save money. So that might mean trading a guy like Trent McDuffie, who, while he's great, he's a really great young prime asset that the Chiefs can trade to get more draft picks potentially for this year so that they can restock their cupboard with young guys, talented guys who want to prove themselves. And I think Andy Reid, a lot of people are saying Andy should retire and Andy's lost the team. No, I don't think so. They just need to refresh. They just need to refresh things and sharpen up the execution and all of those types of things and get back to earning it. And I think that with Patrick Mahomes, they're going to be able to do that. This is very likely going to be a one-year turnaround. I'm telling you right now, as we're sitting here, Kingsley Suamataia is growing in his role on the offensive line. Joshua Simmons looked like the real deal. Jalen Moore looked strong at times if he steps in at right tackle. I think that this offensive line is going to be fine. I think they still have Rashee Rice. They still have Xavier Worthy. Those are still ascending players. If everybody's there and help, there are a lot of things to like about this team. The cupboard is not bare, but they need to replace some things in key areas. Adam, I saw you put your hand up.
Yeah, in good faith, I don't think we can do earn your Arrowhead today. So I had another idea. Earn your roster spot, because they flashed a graphic on the screen of expected free agents. There were 11 guys in that mix. And then Sterling mentioned another 3 guys who I think are in grave danger of being cut: Mike Dana, Drew Tranquil, and Jawan Taylor. So I've got 15 guys that I'm just curious, if we run through them, how many or how few you guys think will actually be back. You ready for me to run through these really quick?
That's a great idea. Let's take a quick break. And on the other side, we'll go through all those pending free agents and we'll determine, rather than giving out arrowheads, who we think should be back on the team next year. Hey, listen, everybody, football season is more than in full swing. The playoffs are right around the corner. Underdog is the place to play to get in on all the action. Playing Underdog is easy. You just pick whether your favorite player is going to go higher or lower on stats like rushing yards, receptions, touchdowns, and more. If you get your picks right, you could win up to 5,000 times your cash. I love Underdog. You hear me talk about it on the show all the time. It's a great second screen experience, whether I'm watching one of the primetime games and my favorite team's not playing and I want a little bit more, a little something extra to be interested in the game. Underdog is the place that I do that. And there's a million games coming up across the NFL, college football over the course of the next week with the Christmas Day games, the playoffs and college football. So it's a great time to get in on the action at Underdog. Download the app today and use our promo code Arrowhead Addict to score $75 in bonus entries when you play your first $5. That's promo code Arrowhead Addict. Underdog. Make picks. Win money. Must be 18 plus, 19 plus in Alabama, Nebraska, 19 plus in Colorado for some games, 21 plus in Arizona, Massachusetts, and Virginia, and present in the state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/play and get terms. _DFS_.html for details. Offer not valid in Maryland, Michigan, New Jersey, New York, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. Concerned about your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org. In New York, call the 24/7 Hope line. Hope line at 877-8-HOPE New York, or text HOPE New York to 467-369.
That was incredible. That was almost, besides that last slip up, that was about to be a 9.7 out of 10. Patrick, that was.
Oh, I appreciate it. That is coming from the man himself.
Yeah, that was electric.
Coming from the man himself. I got a little tripped up on that URL. That's a tricky one.
It happens, but overall, that was a much. I mean, if that was the Chiefs' performance today, they would have won by 30. That was great,
Patrick.
I was impressed.
You know what I've learned? It's you can't have fear going into it. You know what I mean? I learned this from you. You just have to go, and if it's a disaster, it's a disaster. And yeah, it's end of the season here, but we're
if you crash, you're gonna die either way. So
Right,
you might as well die spectacularly.
Make it as painless as possible.
See, my theme is drive fast and leave a sexy corpse. That's kind of my theme, I think.
Let's not make any drive fast comments about what the Chiefs.
Oh, Patrick.
Come on. All right, Adam. So listen, for everybody who's maybe new to the show, if you're watching on YouTube, by the way, hit that like button. Here's what we're going to do. So normally we do earning their arrowheads, which is even when the Chiefs lose, we award an arrowhead to players we thought showed up today. But outside of Chris Oladokin, who, I think God bless him, I thought he played better than any of us deserved, given the situation. There weren't too many people to give arrowheads to. So Adam made a great suggestion. We're going to look at these pending free agents and determine who we think should and shouldn't be on the roster come next season. So why don't you lay it on us, Adam?
We're going to start off with Travis Kelce. My suggestion would be bring him back on a 1-year team-friendly contract if he wants to be here. What say you?
Concur.
Yeah, he's not coming back on the current contract. Just I don't think the Chiefs would be okay with that. It's a very, very large number. They're not counting on that. So I would like to see Travis Kelce back in KC. You're marrying a billionaire. I don't think money's the issue here. I know you want the respect and all that, so I understand. It's going to be on Travis's side, though. I think the Chiefs would have him back, but I think they would both understand it wouldn't be on that current contract.
Yeah. And look, he's still good. Like, he is still a good NFL player and can be a really important piece in this offense. But he's not going to be what he was, and he can't get paid what he got paid.
He's a top 12 tight end, right? Not a top 1.
Right.
I think going into this game, he was tied for the second most receiving yards of any tight end. It was Trey McBride, and then him and Kyle Pitts were tied for number 2. I know he's had some big drops that were back-breaking, obviously. I'm just throwing that out there. So for all the people that say, oh, he's a bum, he's washed. Yeah, washed for him. But, like, compared to other NFL tight ends, he's still, like, top 5. Like, the bottom end of that number 5.
Yep.
We will pair some of these up by position to get through them faster. Juju Smith-Schuster and Hollywood Brown.
I'd bring back Hollywood. You're not going to have. You need depth at the receiver position. I don't think I would bring back Juju because I think he's just a one-trick pony for you at this point. He helps out blocking. Find somebody who can still get open and also block for you. So I wouldn't bring back Juju, but Hollywood, yeah, sure, as a receiver 4 or 5, yeah, why not? Mahomes has trust with him. They built up some chemistry. He's a fine player.
I would be okay if one of them came back. I don't really care which one because I think both can have a role as long as, again, we're talking depth, and I don't think either's going to be expensive. I think maybe Juju I would lean towards because I think he has more of a specific role, a more specific skill set that the team currently doesn't really have. Like, you're not having Xavier Worthy go out there and block. Like, you're not having Tyquan Thornton go out there and block, right? So I think Juju in that role does make some sense. Hollywood has been actually a decent red zone threat, which has been surprising. But again, this is why I want to see Royals, because if Royals can take one of those guys' spots, then I would be okay with one of those two coming back on a again, they're going to be cheap. So I probably Juju if I had to go with a guy.
Personally, I think they're redundant. Juju is a way worse version of Rasheed, and Hollywood is, I mean, kind of just Xavier Worthy insurance. And if I'm Brett Veach, I'm kind of doing the Billy Bean and Moneyball. Like, I don't want to give Andy Reid the option of playing Juju Smith-Schuster. First of all, playing Juju Smith-Schuster is kind of a tell. He's probably in there to block. He only does 2 things: block or like sit down in the seam and catch a ball and get upfield. So he's kind of like a human tell. I just think, like, one thing Brett Veach is going to have to learn about his 2 play callers, if you give them these old veterans that they like Derek Nottie, they will play them. They're going to play them to their own detriment. So I think you got to take away those options. Running backs, Isaiah Pacheco and Kareem Hunt.
Got to go.
I'm with you, brother.
I think Hunt's back. I wouldn't be surprised. I'd be okay with it. Again, he's not going to cost I don't think hardly anything. Pacheco for sure is gone. I think Hunt still has a role on those short yards. Like, you're almost using him as a fullback at this point, where he's not Carson Steele, like a legit fullback, but I think Kareem, it'd probably be Kareem. I don't even know what they think of Brashard Smith. Like, we now have 2 more games to see what they think of him. Like, I thought that is he viewed as a receiver? Is he, I don't know how he's viewed. Because I do think Kareem could play a role if you bring in let's say ETN. Let's say ETN is brought in. Let's just, hypothetically, if ETN's brought in, well, I would like him, and then your power guy be Kareem Hunt with a smattering of Brashard Smith. That makes sense to me. I think Hunt in a certain role does still make some sense being brought back. But if you expand that role, it's not his fault. It's just he can't do it anymore.
I think you got to refresh that entire room. I love Kareem, but like you need youth, and you need people who could step in if you have an injury to your main number 1 guy, and he's going to be too old, and you're not in the position. Old Chiefs, like this Chiefs, we think we're a Super Bowl contender. We can afford to bring in a specialist, right? But when you're kind of remaking the team and you need juice, I don't think they're in the position to pay Kareem Hunt to be a short yardage back when they could get a guy who's 23 or 22 that could also get short yards and, has some speed and some juice left and isn't aging and on the back end of his career. Let Kareem go to some other team and, play that role.
If anyone will take him, I'm only half kidding. But the utilization for Brashard Smith today was baffling. He wasn't even a gimmick player. He was motion eye candy. Like, they didn't even think about getting him the ball. It was, I don't know. I don't understand.
Which again is why my point was he might not even be back next year either. I mean, he probably will be because of the contract. Well, it's a 7th rounder. I mean, it's not guaranteed. So yeah, actually, I don't know. Brashard might not be safe. So if that's the case, then you might be looking for ETN, another guy, and then Kareem would still be your short yardage down guy.
But Adam, I think he could be really valuable to them if they had an actual running game. Because if there was actually a threat of him running or just a running game at all, and because now you want to run a wheel route with that guy, right? Well, there's always going to be a safety back there for help. So it's a lot harder to squeeze in. It's a much tighter window. Like, I think a guy like that, like Brashard, could bust big plays if safeties were ever down in the box, that were ever feared a running game. So I think he's probably good enough to be that receiving back for them. But they have to have a running game first.
I think the exciting thing about this free agent class is right now they've been kind of Frankensteining a running back together with 3 different running backs. But you look at Etienne and Kenneth Walker and Breece Hall, all 3 of those guys, they run hard like Pacheco does. They are good pass protectors and good at short conversions like Kareem Hunt, and they can all catch the ball like Brashard Smith. So,
but all 3 aren't bell cows. All 3 split.
There are no bell cows, though, outside of Derrick Henry.
No, I know.
Saquon and, Jahmyr Gibbs, the most talented running back on the planet. He gets 60% of the touches.
And same with Bajan and Tyler Algier. I'm not arguing it, but I just think if someone expects him to come in and be a bell cow, this is my pushback was Etienne splits with Bashal Tutin. We've seen Breece Hall. He was a bell cow, and then now he splits with a couple guys in New York. Braylon Allen obviously was a guy before injury. And then Kenneth Walker and Charbonnet. Yeah.
By the way, ETN has 5 carries for 0 yards against the Broncos so far.
I'm watching it right now. If you see this above me, this thing, the light going off on the projector, that's what I'm witnessing right now.
Tough defense. But speaking of defense, I'm going to skip over Gardner Minshew because the ACL, we can count on a different quarterback kind of being the number 2 for the Chiefs next year, probably, I think.
Yeah.
Linebackers, Leo Chanel, who's a free agent, and Drew Tranquil, who is under contract, but they can save some money if they move on from him.
I'd like to bring back Leo if you can, but I don't have a good handle on what the market's going to be for those 2 players, right? So I could see a situation where, because he's maybe a little bit younger, that the market goes for Leo and they kind of let them both go for a minute and then re-sign Tranquil.
What do you think, Sterling?
Yeah, I think that's a possibility, and I don't love it. I think if Tranquil comes back, it'll be on a restructured deal because there's just too much money to be saved by. You can't pay him and Nick Bolton, or him, Nick Bolton, and Leo. So the Leo one's interesting because remember when we all thought Willie Gay Jr. was going to get paid a lot, and then he signed a 1-year, $3 million contract with the Saints?
Yep.
So I don't know. The linebacker market's wild. And also, Willie did have the off-the-field stuff, which made it at least probably an impact. I just don't know how teams view Leo, who isn't a every down type of guy. Leo and Drew are such vastly different players. Like, if you trusted Jeffrey Bossa, well, then, yeah, you move on from Drew and use that money to sign Leo. But if you don't trust Jeffrey Bossa and you move on from Drew, well, then now you also have to fill that coverage-ish linebacker spot, the off-ball linebacker. So, I don't know. This is fascinating to me. I thought Drew Tranquil's had a fine year this year. I don't think he's bad. I think he's been a fine player. Maybe a little overpaid, but I still think overall I like Drew. I think the linebackers, for the most part, this year have been pretty good. They have not been the issue on the defense. So, I don't know. I don't have a good feel for this one because I think there's multiple ways you could navigate this, and I think I could talk myself into it being the right decision either way.
Moving on from Tranquil doesn't scare me. Moving on from Chanel does scare me because he is such a unique player in the NFL. There just aren't many guys like him. And you look at his athleticism, he is just kind of a rare specimen. And in the back of my mind, I don't think this is going to happen, but I think back to Zach Bond, and a player the Saints didn't know how to use, didn't really use him full time, went to Philadelphia, became a star. I think that's possible for Leo Chanel. I'm not saying it's probable, but like, I think the Chiefs haven't tapped everything that's in Leo Chanel yet. That's the way I'd put it. Let's move on to defensive line. We've got four guys there. Derek Nottie, Charles Omenihu, maybe three guys, and Mike
Tillery.
Dana.
And Tillery.
Four guys.
All of them. Cut them all. Nobody comes back.
I don't, and I guess if you don't throw Mike Pennell, I mean, that's five. Pennell, Nottie, Tillery,
Omenihu,
and then Mike Dana. Yeah, I don't think any of the five come back, quite frankly. Tillery was on a prove-it deal. He didn't prove it. Omenihu was on a prove-it deal. He didn't prove it. Mike Dana's been a rotational piece for a while, but looks like Ashton Gelati has somewhat taken that role. Like, Gelati, I don't think is going to be a star. I don't think is going to be even necessarily what Karlaftis is, but can he be a little addition or a little better than – no, he's a rookie, so he's going to improve, but can he be a little better than Mike Dana? I think, yeah. And I think that's kind of what he is going to be that role, but on a rookie contract, which saves you some money, right? So you're still looking for a defensive end to start on the other side. You're still looking for a defensive tackle to start on first and second down because Omar Norman-Lott, you hope, is your pass rush defensive lineman. So, yeah, you're going to see, I would imagine, a complete overhaul. I mean, they didn't really want Mike Pennell. They moved on from Derek Nottie, then brought him back. So, yeah, I don't think they really didn't care for Omenihu, right? Because they waited for a long time before they finally gave him that contract because no one else did. So it wasn't like they were enamored with any of these guys. I think they move on from all five.
They may take an approach of with that first round pick is take the best defensive lineman available. You know, if they're up there close to the top 10 or they have a guy they like, they want to move, whether it's edge or interior, that might be the move for this team.
You know, for most teams, I wouldn't recommend moving up because you just need all the capital you could possibly have. With the Chiefs, I just don't know when they're going to get back in this top 10 range again with Patrick Mahomes. So if this is the year where you can actually get an edge, that is the one position along with quarterback that I just don't see superstar players generally coming from outside the top 10 or 15, right? So I think this is their year to get an edge. The Jeremiah Love stuff is fun, but I think they can get a running back and like look at the guys that are consistently picked around pick 40. You've got Ken Walker, Travion Henderson. They can get a guy in the second or even third round. I just think if they want an edge, and then suddenly Ashton Gelati maybe blossoms into a good third edge. And if this player becomes a star, George Karlaftis is a hell of a second edge. He's just miscast as your primary pass rusher.
Which, by the way, I see really quickly, Karloft is gone too. He's not gone. He's already on a contract. He's here for the next at least 2 more seasons. You're right. And this is where my issue has been with some people, and also my annoyance with George at times too. George Karlaftis is paid like a DN2. The issue is the defensive end market has gotten insane. His 20 to 22 mil per year, you say that is so much money. Yeah, it's a lot of money. I would love to have that money. George, please, let me hold some for you. I could turn that $22 million into $3 million real easy. But it's not like Myles Garrett money or all these elite guys. That's just the going rate for a DN2. I wish he would bring guys down more, because George almost Karlaftis. Like, he almost gets guys all the time. But if you had a DN1 on the other side of him, I think he cleans a lot of those up. And I think we're talking about, like, if there was, let's say, Trey Hendrickson on the other side, I think we'd view Karlaftis in an entirely different light. When Chris Jones was playing great ball, Karlaftis a lot of times was the guy cleaning it up, and we're like, oh, look at Karlaftis. Nice to see. He's good in the run game. He is the Spags type, which, again, we've talked about. I think Spags needs to start adjusting more to the maybe Nick Bonito types. But Karlaftis is going to be here. I just think there's a lot of nuance that has to be had in regards to George.
Agreed. Let's see here. We've got, okay, let's move to the secondary, where we have Brian Cook and Jalen Watson. We can throw Trent McDuffie into this conversation too, because with his draft mates already getting contracts, Derek Stingley and Sauce Gardner, his fellow first-round pick corners from that same draft, it's decision time for the Chiefs. So given their track record, there's an argument not to bring anybody back with how well they draft and develop secondary. What would you guys do?
Say the names of the players again.
Brian Cook, Jalen Watson, and Trent McDuffie. I'm throwing McDuffie in there because it's decision time, you know?
Yeah, I would bring back Cook if you can. I would bring back Cook and Watson. You're not just going to get a whole new secondary in one off season. So you're going to have to bring some people back probably.
Well, they'll bring back Noel and Chamari and Jane Hicks for sure.
Yeah, but I mean, you need some depth there. And my main reason for saying that is I think the move is to trade McDuffie. I just don't think, with what you're paying Chris Jones, we say this on the podcast a lot, as good as McDuffie is, he can only lock down one player. That's it. And it's just not worth spending that much money on one guy when really the secondary game is an ensemble. It's an ensemble. And if you have pass rushers that could create pressure, then you can make non-elite secondary guys, just like B secondary guys, look good. And we've seen that with Spags and his defensive scheme. So I think you trade McDuffie, see if you can snag a first-round pick for him. You almost certainly can, and use that to restock the cupboard, and then bring back some familiar faces that know the scheme and are fine.
So I think you need to bring Brian Cook back. I don't know what his market's going to look like, but you almost need to, because the Chiefs clearly don't trust Jaden Hicks. I mean, Mike Edwards is playing over Jaden Hicks, even in games that don't matter. Like, Hicks played and did not play good in this one, even the smattering of snaps he got. Hicks has been pretty disappointing, quite frankly, and it kind of goes in line with safeties in Kansas City, where they look really good as a rookie, they really struggle year 2 and 3, and then look good year 4. Whether it's injury or not, that's what we've seen. I mean, Juan Thornhill was a perfect example of this. We're now seeing it with Brian Cook. Heck, we might end up seeing it with Jaden Hicks. Like, this is just what it has been. It comes down to Watson and McDuffie. I don't think you can lose both. So it comes down to, what does the contract look like for both those guys? At least with McDuffie, you have the 5th-year option and you have the franchise tag if you choose to go that way. So if you wanted to play hardball, you kind of can. Jalen Watson, not quite as much, because you wouldn't want to pay him the franchise tag money, and he doesn't have the 5th-year option. So it all comes down to what the contract looks like. If it's $30 million a year, which is going to be for McDuffie, I think that money's best used on an edge rusher. But if we're talking like 24 for Jalen Watson, which I don't think it's going to be that much, I think it's probably about the 15-ish million a year range. Well, then I'm probably going Watson and trading McDuffie. But I think the interesting part comes in here. Sauce Gardner brought back 2 firsts. Trent's not bringing back that same return, but maybe a first and a third. But you only get the first and a third if you sign him already and you pay out a lot of the signing bonus, because that's what the Jets did with Sauce Gardner. They had signed him to the contract. They paid out a lot of the signing bonus, which brings the cap hit down. It brings a lot of the monetary value down. Well, now that makes it way more valuable, because now you're paying instead of $30 million a year for Sauce Gardner. Well, now it's basically $20 million a year for Sauce Gardner. Well, the Colts say, well, that's worth it. We'll pay 2 firsts for that. So if the Chiefs want to get the most value for McDuffie, honestly, the best thing they probably could do is sign him to the contract, whatever's going to be the $30 million per year, pay out the signing bonus, which is going to be large and hefty, and then trade him. The issue is I don't think Clark Hunt's going to want to do that. Why pay a guy and pay money for a guy who's not going to play in your team? You're basically at that point paying for a first-round draft pick or a third or a second. That's just, again, my thoughts on this. There's a lot of nuance that's going to go into this, which I've talked about a lot. There's going to be a lot of... it's going to be hard to navigate the McDuffie trade market. I think it's going to be really fascinating.
I wish I knew 2 things. The first thing I wish I knew was how long Steve Spagnuolo will be in Kansas City, because I think for his system, where you really need these bigger press boundary corners, Jalen Watson is simply a better schematic fit than Trent McDuffie. And the issue with Trent McDuffie, the other thing I'd like to know is how the league sees him, because obviously Trent McDuffie wants to be seen as an outside corner. I don't begrudge him. He's going to make a lot more money if he's considered an edge corner, an outside corner than a slot corner. But I think he is probably a top 10 or 15 outside corner and the best slot corner in football. But he doesn't want to be the best slot corner in football, because that is probably a $30 million gap in terms of the payday he's going to get. So I think the Chiefs just can't pay a $30 million slot corner, and they should see if someone else will. I love Trent McDuffie. This team is so good at finding corners that I think they can replace him. And Jalen Watson's been really good. So I think he's a better fit.
And look, like, he's on his 5th-year option contract. You probably can get a first and a second for him. Maybe not in the same draft, but Sauce went for 2 1s, right? So I think you get a 1 and a 2 for McDuffie. You get a first this year. If it's a mid pick, a second next year, that gives you option to move around this year if you want to, if you have a guy you really like. And it saves you money on, and you refresh a potential premium position at a rookie contract, and that buys you some of your future. So I think it's kind of a no-brainer. If the other thing I think that the Chiefs need to do this offseason, hold on, have we gotten through all the players?
Jawan Taylor, but I imagine
he's gone.
He has to be gone. It's kind of frustrating, because I actually think he's better than Jalen Moore. If you negate the penalties, I think he is a better physical performer. But Jalen Moore, he still has room to kind of develop continuity with this line and grow, and we'll see.
Yeah, and he's just too expensive. I mean, that's the problem. He's not good enough. He's not good enough he's not so much better than Jalen Moore that he is worth his contract. And that's the problem. I know we got to get out of here, but that's the last thing I think that the Chiefs need to have a serious conversation with. Andy Reid just signed a new contract. I think he signed through 2029 or something like that, like 28. They need to have a conversation with him, because if Brett Veach is going to do a big, overhaul of this roster, they need to know that Andy is going to be there for that, because it's Andy's team. So you don't want to start kind of tearing some parts of the roster down to the studs when Andy's like, I'm going to coach 1 more year and then I'm out. This is very important. So I think Andy has to be upfront with I don't want Andy to retire, but he needs to be upfront with the Chiefs. Is he going to play out the rest of his contract? If he is, and this is his last contract in the NFL, great. Then draft the team for Andy. But if he's not planning on staying for the long term, and I don't want him to step aside, but if they are planning to make major changes, you need to do that with your new head coach, especially because this is Patrick Mahomes in his prime.
That's really intriguing, Patrick. I haven't thought of that a ton, but I think that's very astute because you're right. If they said it's only one more year, well, then you might almost go all in. But if it's 4-ish years or 3 years, whatever it be, it's like, we'll worry about that later. We'll cross that bridge once we get to it. We're gonna draft guys that we think you can utilize maybe more than someone else could. I think there is some nuance in there that needs to be had. Again, I think nuance should be the name of this show today because I think some has to be had with the debacle that we watch versus the, I guess, greatness that we've witnessed over the past basically 7 seasons, right? So there has to be a little middle ground here. That's an intriguing point there, Patrick, and one I hadn't really considered much.
And I'd throw Spags in there too. You know,
right?
if you're Brett Veach, you're shopping for specific groceries for these coaches that like things a certain way when it comes to the receivers they like or the edge, prototypes they like or whatever, archetypes. And you don't want to shop for Spags and Andy Reid and then have some totally different coaching staff here 2 years from now.
Yeah, and do they have a succession plan? I know a lot of people thought, well, maybe Matt Nagy's going to be the guy, all that. That we don't know the answer to any of those questions, right? So if they think they have a succession plan in house or something like that, then those wheels could already be in motion. We just don't know. I think if you were hiring me to be the head coach of the Kansas City Chiefs and I was coming in, Steve Spagnuolo could stay.
Yikes!
Right? Like if he wants.
Patrick's the head coach. Oh my gosh!
I do appreciate Kevin Harlan with the Matt Nagy could be the head coach in Tennessee propaganda. Let's keep pushing that, baby. I love it.
All right, everybody. Look, this sucked. We're gonna have some shows this week. We're not gonna be here on Christmas. It's Christmas. The Chiefs are out of the playoffs. We don't like to leave you guys hanging, but there probably aren't a lot of you who are gonna watch a Chiefs post-game show on Christmas night, especially after what we just saw against the Tennessee Titans. There are probably a lot of you who aren't even gonna watch the Chiefs game on Christmas night.
Man,
So
Amazon really didn't get their investment going for Mahomes on Christmas, did they?
Yeah. Let me point out, Briscoe and I recorded something very special, a little Christmas episode though for y'all. It's fun. It's dumb. It's real dumb. Let me just lay the scene for you. The theme of the episode is, as Sean puts in the chat, the bird episode. The gang talks about the birds, not the eagles, but the 12 birds of Christmas, okay? It's whimsical. Hilarity ensues. Nonsense pervades. You might like it, you might hate it, but we have fun.
I'm looking forward to it. It's going to make my holiday better. But by the way, I just need to say it. So I tweeted during the game, I feel like I'm watching the 2012 Chiefs playing the 2008 Chiefs. And, somebody responded and they said, which one is the Chiefs? And I was like, does it matter? Both of those Chiefs teams only won 2 games. Well, that tweet was just retweeted by our pal, Mitchell Schwartz. And this is what he had to say. He quote tweeted it and said, one of my friends said, I probably didn't follow the Chiefs in 2012, but this is deja vu. And I said, my only memory of the 2012 Chiefs is that we, the Browns, this is when Mitchell was on the Browns, handily beat them late in the season. We fired our coach that year. So that's how good we were. So pretty epic. Mitchell Schwartz's only memory of the 2008 Chiefs was beating them on the Browns badly when the Browns were also terrible. That's what you just saw. But thankfully, this was not the Chiefs. This was not really the Kansas City Chiefs. It was a shell of the Kansas City Chiefs. If that brings you any peace. All right, we're going to get out of here. Thank you so much to our Arrowhead Addict members. Now's the time to become a part of the Arrowhead Addict community because the offseason is going to be popping around here. Big changes are coming, we think, to the Chiefs roster. So you're not going to want to miss it. Our coverage is going to be fantastic. Price Carter, one of our co-hosts here, and Christian Ainsworth, the draft guys, they're going to have all the this is their time to shine. So you don't want to miss their fantastic coverage. So become a member of the Arrowhead Addict crew and support the podcast because we'll be with you most days of the week, all off season long. But it's not off season yet. We still got a couple games to go to get that better draft pick. Thank you to producer Sean for getting us up and running today. Thank you to Adam Best, to Sterling Holmes. We want to wish you all happy holidays, happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas, and yeah, just try to wash the taste out of your mouth. Have a scotch or something, and we'll see you next week. But until then, as always, go Chiefs.